In the know, non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Welcome into a Saturday checkdown episode of Purple Daily. The Judd Zulgad, write that down, specialty here.
That was an unnecessary
The Kirk Cousins
shot.
4th and 8 specialty here.
Totally unnecessary. All of them.
So throughout the offseason, we're giving you kind of a mix of Saturday episodes, including these little Saturday checkdown episodes where we just kind of check in with a short episode to say hi and talk some Vikings, presented by TCL, now an official partner of the NFL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL brings, sorry, I lost my place in this read, joy and simplicity through innovative technology. I've only done that read 200 times. Learn more at TCL.com. All right, boys. We had such great fun on the Feedback Friday episode. There was a bunch of feedback that we didn't even get to. We'll put some of it on Mackie and Judd the end of this week. But Jeff in Arkansas chimes in and says, what happened to the daily mocks? Thought you guys were going to do daily mock draft roundups. And Torrin says, we need more mocks. Oh, boy. I didn't realize you guys were, I mean, we're give you a lot of mocks. I didn't realize that you guys wanted.
I want a mock.
Nope.
More mocks. So
We
you
give
want
you what you
mocks?
want.
Yeah, you want mocks? We'll give you mocks. All right.
To please.
In our mock draft roundup so far, we've done 21 mock drafts, and it looks like about 55 to 60% so far have been defensive backs. Whether it's Brian Branch, the hybrid defensive back from Alabama, with Tyler Forness, we did that mock a couple days ago. A bunch of Kelly Ringos, a bunch of Deontay Bankses, some Cam Smiths, Emmanuel Forbes, even a Tyreek Stevenson in there. Let's see what the latest Pro Football Network mock says, boys.
Football. Do it. Oh, yeah. Pro Football Network.
ProFootballNetwork.com.
Sounds very official.
All right, so they do have a trade for the number 1 overall pick here. Houston Texans. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Wow. The Houston Texans trading up for Anthony Richardson.
Wow.
Number 1 overall pick.
They're buying what the combine is selling.
Anthony
Great
Richardson.
Great interviews. He's killing the interviews.
So the Texans receive the number 1. The Bears move back to number 2 and get the number 12, the 33, and a 2024 first rounder. That's a crazy haul. And Anthony Richardson apparently is the target here. So wow. Okay, the Bears at number 2 take Will Anderson. The Panthers take C.J. Stroud. And then the Colts take Bryce Young at 4. So 3 quarterbacks off the board in the first 4 picks.
Now,
Anthony Richardson, who have showed very, very well in the interview process too this week at the Combine. Interesting.
Who do we have on? It was Thor. I think Thor about 3 weeks ago said the Colts traditionally like taller quarterbacks.
Okay.
He did not think that they would be a Bryce Young candidate because they would prefer to go with a quarterback who was taller.
I believe it. I believe it.
He knows his stuff.
Seahawks take Jalen Carter out of Georgia. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about the arrest. This might have been mocked like a day before the arrest happened. Christian Gonzalez, the first cornerback off the board, to the Lions at 6. Then Will Levis, the 4th quarterback off the board, to the Raiders at 7. All right. We'll kind of skip around here. A bunch of cornerbacks. There's Kelly Ringo to the Patriots after Devin Witherspoon to the Bears. Brian Branch to the Commanders at 16. Deion Banks, a big-time run here. Looks like Jordan Addison is the first receiver off the board at 18 to the Lions. Jalen Hyatt, the second receiver off the board, followed by Quentin Johnston. So a little run on receivers. Oh, and then at number 23, the 4th receiver comes off the board to the Minnesota Vikings. Jaxon Smith-Njigba from Ohio State.
Oh, they haven't fallen.
Here's the write-up. His tape is good. So good that even a merely respectable combine showing could boost his chances of staying in round 1. He's a great fit for the Vikings, who need a dependable chain mover to complement Justin Jefferson's big play ability.
Did I hear chain mover? Did I hear a chain mover's coming to Minnesota?
You did hear chain mover. Yep.
Oh,
okay. How would
I
you feel?
wouldn't
So he'd be the
object.
4th receiver off the board here and the 3rd in a string of 3 I don't know if that means anything because Jefferson was like the fourth or fifth receiver off the board. So.
Yeah, and in this case, I think if we are to believe just a semblance of what we have gotten from the potpourri of mocks that we have done, he usually is going before 23, in some cases well before. So I don't think that this would be by any means a stretch. It wouldn't be like they're taking the fifth best guy and he's not as good. So, and this would also dovetail in perfectly with what we've talked about, which is it probably means they've signed a cornerback in free agency.
Yeah, that could definitely be sort of the precursor to this. The previous iterations of Pro Football Network have had different players being drafted. This is the third Pro Football Network mock that we've stumbled upon. The second one had Cam Smith, the South Carolina cornerback, and then the third one had Cody Mauch, the offensive lineman from NDSU, going to the Vikings. Interesting. Okay.
I don't promise
Jaxon Smith-Njigba there.
I sort of like it.
All right, here's one. This isn't really a mock, but it is Lance Zierlein from NFLcom, who's one of the most prominent mockers. He's not quite on like the Mel Kiper, Todd McShay level, but he's a very plugged-in, creative mocker.
Yeah. Yeah, his stock is rising. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And he pens an article, or types one, I guess, on NFL.com. Anthony Richardson landing spots. Which NFL team is most likely to draft the toolsy quarterback prospect? All right. And so it's not a mock. He's giving percent chances to each team to draft Anthony Richardson. He's got the Panthers as a front runner with the number 9 pick, 25% chance. That he references Cam Newton in here. You know, could he be kind of a second coming? Then he's got the logical fits in the next category. These are all 15% chances. There's 3 of them. The Lions with either pick 6 or 18, or somewhere in between if they trade. The Raiders with pick 7.
Yep.
And the Commanders at pick 16. Maybe they have to trade up to make it happen.
Okay.
Then there's the it's possible category. These are 10% chances. Seahawks with 2 first-round picks. Buccaneers at 19. And then he's got a long shots category with 2 teams with a 5% chance to draft Anthony Richardson. The Colts with the 4th overall pick and the Minnesota Vikings with the 23rd overall pick. Here's the write-up. I think this would be a sneaky, interesting landing spot for Anthony Richardson if he were to make it all the way to 23 or somewhere nearby, which seems like a long shot in itself, but Kirk Cousins would clearly be the starter in 2023, which would allow Richardson a chance to take mental reps for an entire season before potentially taking the reins in 2024 with some talented pieces around him. Thoughts?
First of all, I think he has the Colts probably too low percentage-wise, because I think the Colts are a possibility for sure, especially with where they are drafting. And it does sound like from the reports that we are seeing from the Combine that Anthony Richardson's stock is on the rise. You know what's funny? As you went through that list, I was thinking of like the best fits for a young QB as well. So like the best places, because I feel like the Raiders have really defined themselves as an albatross, right? And I don't think Josh McDaniels is a great coach. So, because I mean, so much of this is dependent partially on where you land as far as what your success is going to be. I'll go back to this. Patrick Mahomes anywhere would be damn good. Would he be as good as he is in Kansas City, or would he be as good in Washington? If Washington had gotten him as he is with the Chiefs, my response is probably not. Minnesota would be such, I think at this point in time, unless I'm just totally wrong and whiffing here, and I think it'd be such a good landing spot, especially if you could sit behind Kirk. And it's not even that Kirk would have to help you. It'd be the luxury of not having the pressure to play immediately and be the franchise savior immediately. And then O'Connell, just his demeanor, and I think he really knows what he's doing. It didn't translate to his own skill, but that's fine. That happens. I just really think that the Vikings, whoever ends up here, I think has a very good chance quarterback-wise of developing, because I think the infrastructure is now in place. And I hear some of those teams, and I'm like, I don't know about that, right? Like
this is a
Las Vegas, I don't know about that.
We've been saying this for a long time on this show. this is a great place for a young quarterback, especially if that quarterback can come in for a year. Most teams that are drafting quarterbacks have garbage all around, right? There's a reason why the Texans don't have any big time wide receivers. They don't have they're cycling coaches every other year. They're just starting from zero. Whoever the Texans draft is going to have to save that franchise. The Bears have a couple weapons on offense. They did trade for Chase Claypool, but they don't have a number one wide receiver. They are going into year 2 of a coaching situation. Their roster is depleted. They're going to try and fix it with cap space and draft picks, right? But again, your Justin Fields is trying to save that franchise. Mm-hmm. If you're a quarterback here, you don't have to save the Vikings franchise. They just won 13 games last year. Might have been a little fraudulent. Maybe they were a 10-win team, but they're not the Texans or what the Colts have become the last few years, right? So you would come in here if this scenario played out and they somehow drafted Anthony Richardson and this is a big and with an if Kirk Cousins was the quarterback for 2023 and didn't get all offended by the fact that they drafted his replacement, which that would be a thing.
Yeah, he probably would.
But Anthony Richardson could chill for a year, and then when he eventually sat in the pilot seat, he would have Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill. He'd have an offensive-minded coach, player-friendly coach, great facilities, everything, right? Great ownership. So it's just another reason why anyone who's afraid of life after Kirk, right? What are they going to do? Well, have some faith. You poke at us for not being true Vikings fans or whatever. It's dude, have some faith in this organization and how everything is set up for a new quarterback to come in. How bad would you have to be to not at least be able to drive this car to a competitive record, right? You'd literally have to be the second coming of Christian Ponder, and even he quarterbacked a team that won 10 games and went to the playoffs one time. So
and you get the support too. That's the most important thing to me, because the expectations as a first round QB, especially a high one, are always huge, but you'd get the support of the team. And I actually don't object to. I sort of like the idea if the climate is done correctly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of bringing in a quarterback with a veteran who might not want to help, because that's going to test you a little bit. I think it's good to be, it's professional sports. I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy not embracing you. Doesn't mean he's got to be a jerk. And I don't think Kirk would be a jerk. I think he'd be offended. But that would be sort of a nice little bump in the road. But the adults in the room and the infrastructure that you would get as a young QB here, I think would be really good.
Yep.
And I don't think we talk about this enough, which is how many quarterbacks who are high draft picks go to places where that infrastructure is not good, where it's not great. Jared Goff is fine. He's not great, but he's certainly not bad, okay? But he went to the Rams and had a great infrastructure, right?
Yep.
He succeeded.
Went to a Super Bowl.
If Jared Goff had been drafted by Detroit at that time, he wouldn't have succeeded.
Yeah.
So and
even Detroit they've got weapons all over the place. Dan Campbell has the attention of, not that Dan Campbell is Sean McVay, but and boom. Now the Lions, they won 9 games or whatever it was, and they were competitive again with Goff. People kind of used Goff as a punchline for all those years. Maybe he's not as good as the number 1 overall billing, but you give the guy some infrastructure, you can win games with guys like Goff.
I'm saying if Goff had actually been drafted at that time, though, by a Detroit, he probably fails.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson, in my opinion, might be a punk. I don't know. But he doesn't really have a chance.
Yeah. What's funny is, Goff was drafted by a garbage organization because Jeff Fisher had that thing in a nosedive. And Goff was atrocious in his first year. And then McVay came in overnight and flipped the switch on that whole offense.
Exactly.
So there it is, a 5% chance for Anthony Richardson.
Unless you trade up.
Well, that's the thing. You're almost certainly, especially because Anthony Richardson, by all accounts, was very impressive in the interview process. He's going to go through some workouts, I would assume, this weekend. And if he can nail the interview stuff, physically he's going to be a beast at the combine. So his stock probably will rise between now and the draft. So there's your Saturday check down episode here on Purple Daily. Daily Vikings entertainment speculation. We are your home the next 10 days especially, and then the week or two after that. This is where the 2023 Vikings roster will start to be molded. Free agency. My guess is by the time we reconvene here, Dex will have vent line on Sunday, but by the time we could reconvene on Monday, there might be some news in the next 48 to 72 hours. You got to start clearing cap space. So we'll see, boys. We'll see. Purple Daily. See you guys next time.